Well, good evening. I know that we do have a few problems tonight. For some reason, we are not going out on Facebook at the current time. Not too sure why, but we are going out on YouTube and Twitter. So I do apologise. I have quickly put a message up on Facebook to give people the link to come across to YouTube. Hopefully they will find us. Well, good evening and welcome to this week's programme. Well, what's changed since last week's programme? Well, I guess on a global basis, not too much. Donald Trump is still in the White House and trying to claim he won the presidential election, despite the results telling us otherwise. We're still all on lockdown, and the daily statistics on coronavirus still seem to be growing. This week, the latest figures reveal that 126 patients are in Dorchester's hospitals being treated for coronavirus. The local R rate in White Regis is between 1.2 and 1.4, and we're just below the national average for those being tested positive. Nationally, the rates are up as follows: 9.1% increase in those being tested positive, 26% increase in the death rate, and 6.3% increase in those admitted to hospital. So it's still very much active and not going in the direction that we'd all like. If you want to keep up with national and local information, you can go along to this website, coronavirus.data.gov.uk. You can put your postcode in and it will give you the national statistics and the local information as well. I don't know if you saw BBC Breakfast this morning, but it was really good to see them running a report on Peter Duncan's online panto. They're only a week behind us, if you remember. If you were here last week, we covered that story last week. So it's nice to know at a local level we are a week ahead of the BBC. Turning to local news, Dorset Council have been awarded government funding to fully train and deploy COVID marshals to work with the public and business owners to ensure they are COVID secure. The council has been working with Dorset-based company Event Security Southern Limited to implement the marshals. The marshals will help support these efforts by providing an effective frontline presence on the streets, and the council hopes that it increases public confidence when visiting Dorset's high streets and town centres. Last Thursday night, the marshals were out in Weymouth Harbourside and beachfront areas, as these have been reported as potential hotspots for congestion. While the police and select council officers will continue to have enforcement powers, the COVID marshals have been tasked with engaging, explaining and encouraging best practice on national COVID secure guidelines with members of the public. The marshals will promote social distancing, encourage people to follow COVID-19 public health measures, while educating and explaining guidelines to businesses and the general public. The marshals will also remind people to wear face masks where required to encourage social distancing in busy areas. Whilst the marshals are currently active in Weymouth, their operating area is flexible across the whole of Dorset County, and the council can deploy them anywhere in the county where they feel it's needed. So that's our COVID marshals. Dorset police are searching for... Let me see if I can find the picture. There we go. Dorset police are searching for a missing man from Blandford and are appealing for information from the public to find him. Joseph Anthony Farrell is aged 42 and was last seen in Southampton on Thursday, November the 5th. From officers' inquiries, they believe he's now back in Dorset, but they haven't actually managed to get any further sightings of him. Joseph is described as white, around 5 feet 9 inches tall and of slim build with ginger hair. When he was last seen, he was wearing a bright orange hooded top, black tracksuit bottoms and brown boots and orange laces. Detective Inspector Sarah Gillian of Dorset Police said Joseph requires medication that we do not believe he has access to, and we're becoming increasingly concerned for his welfare and are keen to locate him and make sure he's okay. So if any of you see or hear anything of Joseph, do take a look at the picture. Fortunately, he's very distinctive, so I think if you saw Joseph, you would recognise him. Please call 101 and let Dorset Police know. Also, good news from Dorset Police. Detectives investigating 2 reported knife point robberies at shops in Weymouth and reported burglaries have now arrested 4 people. Investigations remain ongoing into reported robberies at Hidden Gem Kebab takeaway shop in Littlemore Shopping Centre on Sunday the 8th of November and the Co-op store in Preston Road at 9:20 on the same day. Detectives from Weymouth CID are also investigating reports of break-ins at Hare Moder in Marsh Road, Castle Vets, Dorset Vehicle Rentals in Dorchester Road, as well as attempted break-in at Charlbury Food and Wines at Charlbury Corner and a robbery at McCall's in Littlemore Shopping Centre, all of which happened in the early hours of Friday the 6th of November. They have arrested various people, but they would still like to hear from anyone who witnessed any suspicious activity or has any information in relation to these burglaries. You can call 101, or if you'd like to keep yourself anonymous, you can report it through Crime Stoppers in confidence on 0800 555 111. Now, a team of Dorset volunteers is on hand to help hundreds of Dorset residents stay connected during the lockdown. Dorset Council's digital champions, who used to hold regular surgeries in libraries, have continued offering their expertise throughout the coronavirus crisis via the digital hotline. Now, with another lockdown underway, the winter just around the corner, the digital champions are again urging people to contact them if they need help getting online. From setting up Zoom meetings to FaceTiming friends and family on their smartphones, the champions are there to assist with any digital inquiry. Dorset Council's Deputy Leader, Councillor Peter Wharf, we've got a picture of Peter, there he is, said one of the most important things that's helped us get through the last lockdown is the ability to digitally stay in touch with our loved ones. Our digital world also enables people to work from home, helps businesses stay alive and allow children to keep up with their education. Technology can make a huge difference to people's lives and help them feel less isolated. Since the Digital Champions Hotline was launched in March, more than 450 people have called for assistance. Inquiries have ranged from ordering groceries online to setting up virtual Tai Chi sessions and accessing NHS websites and solving technical problems with laptops. If you want any help, the Digital Champions Hotline is open 10 a.m. to 12 noon daily on 01305 221048, and when they're not open you can leave a message and they will call you back. A creation of more than 500 homes and a new school is taken a step closer in Chickerell after a planning application for the project has been submitted. The vast development is proposed for land off the Chickerell Link Road at the bottom of the Granby Industrial Estate, and if approved it will include 502 homes, a primary school, a skate park, changing facilities, as well as new main spine road, which will connect School Hill in the north to Chickerell Link Road in the south. The homes, if approved, will be built by Persimmons Homes. Matt Payne, Managing Director of Persimmons Homes South, said discussions have taken place with the local education authority, with the required land identified for the provision of a new primary school. Land would also be set aside for formal sports facilities in the south of the site, including football facilities with the potential for changing rooms and a skate park. 4 play areas are also proposed, catering for different age groups. They would be a benefit to both the proposed development and the surrounding community. Persimmon Homes have held 2 consultation sessions last year with local residents who were able to express their opinions on the development. Concerns have been raised by local people about the size of the development and its impact on the green space and wildlife in the town. So that's our local news tonight. Turning now to our first story this evening. It's become very obvious that people are starting to prepare for Christmas. BBC Breakfast this week had a section one morning showing how people were already decorating up with lights and trees and very much getting in the Christmas spirit and using it as an opportunity to cheer themselves up, obviously against the background of the lockdown and depression and other things that are happening at this time. I also had a call this week from a local Christmas tree provider asking whether we wanted to order a regular Christmas tree. So Christmas is very much started early this year. The likelihood is that more homes than usual will be getting their Christmas trees in earlier, we'll be having more Christmas lights than ever, or having more candles for atmosphere this year. However, have you ever paused to think about the increased risk to our household from fire over the Christmas period? We may be overloading our electric sockets, we may use cheap lights that overheat, we might have more candles around the house, and we may take our eye off the ball when cooking or smoking, as we've had a little bit too much of that Christmas cheer. I've unfortunately myself been involved in 2 fires over Christmas period, and it can be quite frightening. Each year over Christmas in the UK, there are around 3,000 house fires. Candles themselves spark around 1,000 house fires, resulting in 9 deaths and 388 casualties. Fairy lights went up in smoke in 20 fires, while Christmas trees, decorations and cards were also a fire risk and responsible for 47 house fires, leading to 20 other non-fatal casualties. Whilst candles are the most obvious area of risk, did you know that if you have a real Christmas tree and it dries out quickly, it will burn? In fact, it will burn rapidly. If it comes into contact with faulty tree lights, a candle, or even a cigarette. The following video by US Consumer Product Safety Commission emphasises the need to have trees with roots and water them if we can, if we're having a real Christmas tree. Because if we have one without roots and they dry out, and bearing in mind we're probably going to have them in our houses longer this year, then they are a serious fire risk. In the video I'm about to show you, you'll see how differently a dried out tree reacts when with a source of ignition than one that is well watered. So there we go, that gives you an idea how quickly a dried up tree can catch fire compared to one that's well watered. But of course, one way of keeping ourselves safe is to install smoke alarms so that we get an early warning of fire and therefore we can get out quickly. However, the latest government figures show that 9% of households in England, that's about 2.17 million households, do not have working smoke alarms. And only 26% of people who do own an alarm bother to test it on a regular basis. This is despite experts warning that people are around 8 times more likely to die in a fire in a home with no smoke alarms. So, how do we keep ourselves safe this Christmas time? Well, first of all, install smoke alarms and make sure they're working. If we can, have an artificial tree rather than a real one, or if we have a real one, make sure it's one with roots or we don't let it dry out. Be very, very careful with candles. Keep them away from combustible materials like Christmas decorations, cards, Christmas trees and curtains. Curtains are a big one for catching fire. Don't overload our electric sockets. Now, I'm sure that's very difficult for some of these houses that we see lit up for charity with all these lights, but it's really important not to overload our electric sockets and not to have too many things plugged in and not too many adapters within adapters within adapters. Kent Fire and Rescue have produced a nice cartoon to remind us about fire safety this Christmas called The Burns Family Christmas. It's suitable for all ages and we're going to have a quick look at it now.
The Burns family love to light up the whole house at Christmas. The Burns house is very busy at Christmas, so they need to make sure they don't overload the plugs. Computer, Christmas lights, phone charger, battery charger, and Mum's new hair straighteners, all in the one socket. That's asking for trouble. Well done, Dad. That's much safer. Not everything needs to be plugged in if it's not being used. Mums remembered about never leaving lit candles on their own, or placing them near Christmas decorations or curtains that might catch fire. Dad's realised he needs batteries for Elsa's present from Father Christmas, but he knows not to use the batteries from the smoke alarm for everyone's safety. Make sure you have enough batteries in the house before Christmas Day for everyone's presents. In the kitchen, always keep an eye on what's cooking. It's so easy to get distracted. Otherwise, you may have to buy a new kitchen in the New Year's sales. But luckily, the Burns family Christmas dinner was saved.
Ho, 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 ho.
There we go. That's the Burns family from Kent Fire and Rescue. So keep safe this Christmas. That's the most important thing. Now moving on. Have you ever thought about giving blood and why you should do it? Well, simply put, giving blood saves lives. The blood you give is a lifeline in an emergency and for people who need long-term treatments. The NHS Blood and Transplant Service always needs new donors from all sorts of backgrounds to ensure there is the right blood available for patients who need it. Believe it or not, they need around 400 new donors every single day to meet demand, and also around 135,000 additional donors each year to replace those who no longer donate. They also need 40,000 more black donors to meet growing demands for better matched blood, 30,000 new donors with priority blood types such as O negative each year, and more young people to start giving blood so we can make sure we have enough blood in the future. As we said, blood donation saves lives. Patients at local hospitals rely on people giving blood, and this is more important than ever at the current time. Despite the coronavirus and lockdown, the Blood and Transplant Service needs to continue taking donations, so adequate supplies are available when you or I need them. An NHS Blood and Transplant spokesman said, "We need people who are fit and healthy to keep donating as normal during the coronavirus pandemic. We've put extra safety measures in place and safety is always our number one priority. We're doing extra cleaning, ensuring social distancing and triaging everyone who arrives so only people with no risk factors enter the donation area. Our sessions and donor centres are still open and travel to blood donation sessions is essential for the NHS. Blood donation is a reason to do something amazing. Blood donation saves lives." We're asking donors to follow the latest advice on our website and app and the advice for government. We're regularly reviewing the situation and working closely with the Department of Health, Social Care, Public Health England. We need people to keep donating to make sure we can keep supplying the blood hospitals need in the coming weeks and months. Patients and doctors are relying on us to be there. If you go to a blood donation session, you'll need to wear a face covering when you donate. The face covering doesn't have to be a surgical mask, but should cover your nose and mouth. Then that's obviously in line with government advice about wearing face coverings. So here's the latest update from the Blood and Transplant Service.
There is always a need for blood, and hospitals and patients rely on donors like you. At this time, it is important that you keep donating blood as normal. We are working with the government and the rest of the NHS to prepare for the impact of the coronavirus, and this is likely to be significant. You can help the NHS prepare by keeping your appointment and giving blood as normal. When booking an appointment, please follow the latest advice on travel and health, which you can find on our app or website www.blood.co.uk. And please be aware that there are some extra travel and contact deferrals in place because of the coronavirus. Again, you can find these details on our app and our website. As usual, please do not come to session if you have a cold or you have any flu-like symptoms. If you can't keep your appointment, it's important that you let us know so that we can give it to someone else. Before and during your visit, please follow all the latest hygiene advice. Safety is our number one priority, and our teams are trained in thorough universal hygiene precautions. Blood donation is quick, easy and safe. Every time you donate, you can save up to 3 lives. Our stocks are good at the moment and your donation will help to keep things that way. We look forward to seeing you on our sessions soon.
There we go. That's the blood and transplant service. And the news is that there is a session this week locally at the Rembrandt Hotel on Dorchester Road on Tuesday. The session is not full yet, so if you'd like to go along and donate blood this week, please call 0300 123 2323 or visit www.blood.co.uk to book an appointment. They do ask that you don't just turn up, that you do book an appointment in advance. So that's some good work you can do this week if you feel that you want to help the blood and transplant service. Now, this is the time in the programme where I would normally play my dodgy birthday jingle, but there's no birthdays to mention this week. If you have joined us from Facebook, I do apologise that the feed to Facebook is not working for some reason at the current time. And for those of you that want to take part in the quiz, I will investigate it between the news programme and the quiz to see if we can get it working. But I have got some error message coming up and I don't know why that's happening, so I do apologise. Our third story this evening is about Advent. That's the period before Christmas. Have you ever thought about what Advent means? Or actually, Adventum to be precise, it's Latin for coming. And if you look up the meaning of Advent in the English dictionary, it will say it's a time of preparation for the arrival of a person or event. This week, Janet Hall thinks about Advent and waiting.
Hello. I wonder how good you are at waiting for things. Nowadays, adults as well as children seem to find waiting almost impossible. When I was a child, my life was full of waiting. The everlasting wait to be grown up enough to do the things that you really wanted to be doing. Waiting for a bike when all my friends seemed to have one before me. Waiting for our summer holidays. Oh, the list was endless. Waiting seemed to be an inevitable part of life. You even had to wait for wait and see pudding. Waiting for Christmas was just part of this waiting, for the decorations were not put up until Christmas Eve, which made them part of the huge climax, which was Christmas Day. This year, people don't seem to be able to wait till the end of November to put their decorations up. For me, one of the first signs that the waiting was at least being allowed to begin was the Advent wreath. 1 candle was lit each week until we finally arrived at Christmas Day. The waiting seemed to be savoured and gloried in as we watched the flames increase and knew that the waiting was decreasing. This year, I want to help you savour the time of waiting for Christmas with a reflective service live streamed each week on a Friday at 5 o'clock. In it, we will explore not only the importance of this time of waiting, but what exactly we are waiting for. It will include not only stories of the people who waited for the birth of Christ, but also consider the waiting we've been going through since the outbreak of coronavirus. But most of all, it will be about having the trust in God to wait through these dark times with hope for the joy and love and peace that Christmas brings. Now I am going to make my Advent wreath. Yes, I know it is a bit early, but I just can't wait. And I promise I won't light the candles. service will be on Friday the 27th of November at 5 o'clock on all the usual ways that you receive services. It will be available afterwards, of course, if that time isn't convenient to you. I'm also going to read a book by the Archbishop of York, Stephen Cotterill, called Let It Slow, which you can get on Amazon as a paperback for $6.99 or as a Kindle for $5.99. If you want to read it as well, we could discuss it on Zoom and talk about the effect it has had on the waiting for us. Just let me know if you think that would be a good idea. And I will wait patiently for your answers. Bye for now.
Thank you, Janet. And so if you've joined us from Facebook tonight, unfortunately the feed is not going out on Facebook. There is an issue with Facebook. I suspect they've updated their software because this happened once before, and unfortunately until we go live we don't actually know there's an issue. So I will investigate as soon as I'm offline and hopefully get it working for our quiz this evening. Our next story goes back a bit in history. Did you know that it's 250 years ago on the 16th of December 1770 that Ludwig Van Beethoven, the German composer and pianist, was born? He's described as one of the most influential and significant composers of all time. Even if you don't go out of your way to listen to Beethoven, I'm sure some of his compositions will be familiar to you if you heard them. They're often used as backing music for TV commercials and incidental music in films. I thought I would look back to learn a bit more about Beethoven and also see how his 250th anniversary is being marked. This year, 2020, is a special year for Beethoven. It marks the 250th anniversary of his birth on the 16th of December 1770. And so it was very fitting that back in August at the first live prom this year in the Royal Albert Hall, the BBC Symphony Orchestra played his third symphony, Wreath. Beethoven composed it in 1804. A few years earlier he had noticed the first symptoms of his deafness. He wrote in a letter to his brothers that was found after his death, "I must live like an exile." The deafness brought in its wake depression and thoughts of suicide, but Beethoven wrote that the only thing that held me back was my art. He went on to compose works which expressed the tragedy this cross of deafness brought, but also conveyed the power of the human spirit which proved indomitable in the face of that struggle. "Music," he wrote, "is the electric soil in which the spirit thinks, lives and invents." Beethoven was to compose 6 more symphonies after Wreath and a wealth of other music up to his death in 1827. He spent most of his life in Vienna, but through his music, his creative genius travelled far and wide. Scholars divide his work into 3 stages. Up to 1800, he composed very much in the classical tradition. That year marked a second stage with works like the 5th Symphony, which opens with the famous 8-note motif of fate knocking at the door, and his opera Fidelio. Then in 1817 came a final stage when his compositions explored new territories of the human spirit altogether. Although his deafness brought loneliness and isolation, he found in music the means to express those experiences, his struggle with destiny, his love of nature, and that search for an inner peace and serenity. Weighed down by physical limitations, he found a freedom to express himself and his longing for transcendence and light. It is there in the prisoner's chorus in his opera Fidelio as they emerge from the dungeon into the sunlight, and it is quintessential present in his last great works, the late string quartets, the 9th Symphony with its exultant hymn to joy, and the Missa Solemnius, where there is a beauty and a serenity in the Benedictus and Agnus Dei. On the score of this work, Beethoven wrote above the Kyrie, "It comes from the heart, may it go to the heart." At this time, when we mark the 250th anniversary of his birth, we give thanks for his music, which continues to speak to hearts in every age. It is music that tells us of the pain and struggle of life, but also the discovery of a courage and freedom that can help us to step out in his company and welcome the light and the joy, the peace and the beauty. As I was thinking about this report to mark the 250th anniversary of Beethoven, I came across the Hanover Band, who are doing a series of performances to mark Beethoven's anniversary. They play instruments of Beethoven's period, and I was amazed to find that they are doing performances free online and just encouraging donations. The orchestra comprises of some of the best period instrument specialists in the UK. They are considered to be some of the best in their field. Their performances and recordings have been described as revelatory, luscious, outstanding and illuminating. Through dedication and scholarly work, the band have gained an enviable niche for themselves within the early music movement as being one of the UK's finest period instrument orchestras. Their distinguished players are committed to education work and passing on their enthusiasm and knowledge to the next generation of music lovers. They teach in the top music conservatories in the UK, the Royal College of Music, the Royal Academy of Music, the Royal Northern College of Music, Guildhall and Trinity Laban. So if you like classical music, why not pop across to their website and watch some of their previous concerts, or join them live this week on the 18th of November at 8 p.m, when they'll be performing Beethoven Symphony No. 5 in C. You can find out more about them at www.thehanoverband.com.
Beethoven is just one of the most extraordinary composers I can think of in the way that he changed music. The Hanover Band is a wonderful orchestra that I've been involved with for over 10 years now, and of course the specialty of the band is playing on period instruments, so we're all playing either instruments from Beethoven's time or replicas. Even if we don't have a live audience, hopefully a considerable online audience to hear the fruits of our labour.
There you go. What a fantastic group of people playing period instruments at a very high standard and offering their concerts free of charge online. So do go over to their website and have a look if you're interested in classical music. So what does the week ahead hold for us? First of all, we'll pop across to the Met Office for the national weather forecast.
Hello there. There will be some heavy rain and it's going to be very cloudy today with some strong winds. Here's the picture through this afternoon. We've got heavy bands of rain moving in from the west and there will be some strong winds, particularly around western and southern coasts today. So it will be blustery, but despite the wind and rain, it will be a mild day. Temperatures reaching 14 or 15 degrees in parts of the south and 10 to 12 degrees in the north. So through tonight, these bands of rain continuing to move through with some really heavy downpours at times. But overall tonight, there will be some drier and clearer spells in between that heavy rain. As we look ahead to Sunday morning, though, we do see a particularly heavy band of rain move across southeastern parts of England. So there is a warning in force first thing on Sunday morning for that heavy rain. Looking ahead into the afternoon, it's followed by some heavy scattered showers into parts of the southwest, and these could be thundery at times. Across the north, a mixture of showers and longer spells of rain as well. And again, another windy day across the board, particularly along the south coast where we could have some gales. To start next week, it will be drier for some, but some more heavy rain to come, particularly in the northwest, and staying windy. Take care.
So that's the national forecast. So looking at the local forecast for the week ahead, the warmest days are going to be from tomorrow through to Wednesday. But with that warm weather comes a very changeable and unsettled few days with a high likelihood of showers. The driest and brightest days will be Thursday and Friday, with clear skies and sunshine. However, the ambient temperature will drop rapidly. So the first part of the week will be 14-15 degrees C, and towards Thursday, Friday will be down to sort of 8 or 9 degrees C. And it also looks, unfortunately, as if the rain is going to return for next weekend on Saturday and Sunday. So I do apologise for that. And here is the local forecast for you, just to have a brief look at that. Looking at travel and road closures, the work continues on Commercial Road in Weymouth along the harbour side. And as we mentioned last week, the council are trying to do the work further down outside on the harbour side, which was planned for early in the new year whilst the lockdown's on, because many of the businesses aren't operating. So that track removal work will go on for a few more weeks yet, obviously, as there's quite a lot of work to do. But it is quite nice where they've done the work. I'm sure you'll agree that it does look vastly improved and hopefully safer for cyclists in particular. A section of the A35 in West Dorset will be closed for 5 nights this week whilst repair works are carried out. Unfortunately, it's another one where there's a long diversion, 54-mile diversion. And this is the section of road of the A35 between Chiddock and Morecambe Lake. It will be closed in both directions from Monday until Friday this week. The diversion in place will take drivers on a 54-mile round journey around West Dorset, taking an estimated hour and a half. So goodness gracious, try not to go that way if you can help it. On the trains, we normally mention the train service, and this week the only reported train engineering works are this weekend, and that's with a revised service between Basingstoke and Southampton. So I think that just means that the timetable has been revised rather than anything else. Okay, moving to what's on. As we get close to Christmas, we often look to see what's going to be on TV or what movies are being released. Over recent weeks, I've been trying to give you a sneak preview of some of the movies that are coming up for release between now and Christmas Day. The last couple of weeks, we've had films more for our younger members. But this week, I thought we would see something more for the adults in the family. Most of us like a good detective story, don't we? Or a detective movie. So this week, I thought we would review the latest Agatha Christie-based movie, Death on the Nile. Belgian sleuth Hercule Poirot's vacation aboard a glamorous river steamer turns into a terrifying search for a murderer when a picture-perfect couple's idyllic honeymoon is tragically cut short. Set against an epic landscape of sweeping Egyptian desert vistas and the majestic Giza pyramids, this tale of unbridled passion and incapacitating jealousy features a cosmopolitan group of impeccably dressed travellers and enough wicked twists and turns to leave audiences guessing until the shocking finale. I'm sure you'll agree in the trailer you're about to see that there's some great scenery and some great acting, and this movie is filmed against the fantastic backdrop of the Nile and the pyramids. Now, on the trailer it does say that the release date is October, however it is now scheduled for release on the 18th of December. Let's see what Hercule Poirot gets up to in Death on the Nile.
The romance of the desert has the power to seduce. I ask you, have you ever loved so much? Been so possessed by jealousy that you might kill.
You had something to hide.
The crime is murder.
Should have hidden it, shouldn't you?
The murderer is one of you.
I don't feel safe here. I don't feel safe with any of them.
It's too late to change events. It's time to face the consequences.
I have investigated many crimes, but this
Policy of truth.
has altered the shape of my soul. I am Detective Hercule Poirot, and I will deliver your killer.
Never again is what you swore the time before. Never again is what you swore.
How many great stories are tragedies?
There you go. That's Death on the Nile, Agatha Christie's Death on the Nile, with the detective Hercule Poirot, out on the 18th of December. Now turning to local events. Well, obviously there aren't many local events going on, particularly at the moment with the lockdown, and I guess it's quite unsure as to what will happen after the 2nd of October, because we don't know if the lockdown will be lifted or whether there will be a further period of restrictions of some type. In previous weeks, we actually have telling you lots of information that was going to happen, things at the Nose and at the Pavilion. What I would urge you to do is obviously to watch their websites as we get towards the 2nd of December and know what's happening, and obviously to help support them if they're being able to put things on. And also things like Sea Life and the Weymouth Museum as well. As well, many organisations will be looking to see if they were organising events and carol services and those sorts of things, will be looking to see whether they can do something online to keep the Christmas spirit going. So, please do watch the local Facebook groups and websites as well, because I know lots of organisations will be trying to do stuff and they will be actively publicising that on social media in the weeks ahead. Now, I did say last week if any local businesses wanted a mention that were continuing to operate or unable to operate due to the lockdown, that I would give them a mention. So I have got 3 businesses to mention to you today. One is Dorset Cake Company, be familiar to many of you. The Dorchester Road branch is now only opening from 8:30 to 2 Monday to Saturday, but the shop in White Regis and the Krusty Cob in Dorchester are still open their normal hours. In fact, I've been told this afternoon that the White Regis shop has just had quite an amazing refit, and it looks very good. Not that I've actually seen it myself. We've also heard from Crossways Travel, which many of you will be familiar with, a coach company who operates throughout the area with pickups in Portland and White Regis and Weymouth, and who over many years have actually been very big supporters of local charities. They've told us that they have no trips running until after the 2nd of December, but after that a good range of day excursions through the rest of December, including shopping trips, Stourhead Light Show, Chichester Cathedral Carol Service and Christmas lunch. All pick up at White Smugglers, and all are COVID safe with social distancing, temperature checks, face coverings, etc. And if there are any cancellations, there are full refunds. So, don't worry if you've got anything booked, just give them a call. If you want to see what's coming up, do pop across to their website at www.crosswaystravel.co.uk. The other one to remind you about is the Bridge Fair Trade Shop. Although closed currently, they are operating through their Facebook group, Facebook page, the Bridge Fair Trade Shop or Fair Bridge Trust. Do pop along to their Facebook page, do see what products they've got, and do get in touch through Facebook and order your Christmas cards or other Christmas gifts, because charities like the Fair Trade Shop still are trying to do business and obviously get vital money in at this time. Just turning to a few final things then. As far as church services in White Regis, these have now all moved back to virtually, obviously with the lockdown, and that will continue until the 2nd of December when we find out what's happening again. So the only service on a Sunday is a 9:30 live stream service. There is an evening prayer live stream at 5 p.m. on Tuesday, and there is time for private prayer in All Saints Church at 10:30 on a Wednesday. The quiz tonight will be on at 7:30. Once I get off the air from this, I will be trying to fix the issue with the feed to Facebook. All the YouTube and Twitter feeds are going out, but for some reason Facebook is not going out this evening. And I suspect it's another update from Facebook. They're very good at updating things, not telling you, and then things not working. So you have to uninstall everything and reinstall it again to get it working. But I've got a short period of time to do that. So if you'd like to join us for our quiz tonight, that is on YouTube and on Facebook. You'd be most welcome. That's at 7:30. If you have any stories at all for our programme next week, any local events, any local businesses doing anything that you want to update us and for us to get out to the local community, just drop us an email either to gary@parishofwhiteregis.org.uk, or an even shorter one for you to remember is news@whiteregis.tv. So I do apologise for the issues with Facebook tonight, and I do hope we'll be back fully to normal next week. But thank you very much for joining us, and I hope you have a pleasant weekend and week ahead.